All right, we've got our recording rocking and rolling. So let's go ahead and get this party started here today. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Coda on Coda webinar series. My name's Maria Marquis. Here at Coda, I consider myself the Chief Cheerleading Officer. It's not a real title, but it's the title that I believe I have in my heart because I just love spending time with makers, celebrating what we're doing, building together, exploring together, and growing our skills as a community. So that's really my mission and why I wake up every morning, because I just love having fun and growing our skills. Now, lucky for all of you, I'm joined by my fabulous colleague, Steph. Steph, do you want to introduce yourself to the group so they can know a little bit about you and why you're as amazing as everyone else here on the call?
Hello, all. Thank you for that warm lead in. As Maria mentioned, I'm Steph. Also, if you see me on community or in writing, it's as a Stephanie Nicano. I just go by Steph because, again, 9 letters is sometimes too much pressure to type out. But that being said, I head up community here at Coda.
Amazing. So if any of you have been hanging out on our community, you have most definitely met Steph out there in the wild. Here she is. She is actually a human being, not just a fabulous bot. She is amazing. And today, our focus is going to be to look at the Codadoc that Steph uses to run our whole community. So one thing that I think is really interesting about us here at Coda is that we actually use our tool for pretty much everything. We build what we need. We live by what we share with all of our customers. And we thought as part of this webinar series, it'd be fun to share a little bit about how we run our business so that you can come in here, be an honorary member, and then be able to think about how that might apply to your situation. So as with all webinars that we run here at Coda, yes, we've got some things we want to share with all of you, but the most important part of our conversation today is you and your questions. So you do not need to wait for me and Steph to stop talking because Steph and I are talkers. We'll talk for a long time. So we want to know anytime you have a question, a concern, a comment, an emotional outburst, let us know by posting to chat. That's part of why we have that there. So you don't need to wait for us to stop talking. We want to hear from you. Part of my job is to watch that very, very closely. So at any point in time today, if you've got something you want to chat about, you just let us know. Anything Coda related is fair game. We'll also have time at the end. So if you're the type of person who likes to kind of absorb and take everything in before you frame up your questions, that's fine too. Whatever works for you works for me and Steph. So without further ado, let's get in to the community doc. Now, Steph, obviously, before you joined, we didn't have this community doc. We had our Coda community, but that was about it. It was pretty small. And then, of course, we're like, Steph, make it amazinger, because it was already fun, but let's make it better. So, Steph, can you tell us a little bit about kind of the problems that you were looking to solve for building this, when building this doc?
Absolutely. And that's a question that any person would walk into a situation when trying to address a challenge, right? But more so, in a bigger picture, as a community person, community 10, 15 years ago was not the Wild West. It was simply uncharted, right? Like it's Oregon Trail style, like roll up my axle is broken and we're all dying from dysentery. And so coming in to this field and this scene, one of the biggest challenges that any community person has is moderation. And quite often our tooling is not inadequate, but limited is the best way I would describe it. And moderation is very expansive. It's very time consuming. It creates a lot of demand, especially on small teams. And it's the part in which community teams want to participate in the most, because as we watch over the health of the community, missing topics or missing posts is a huge concern, especially as a brand or a product grows, community grows as well. And sometimes community outpaces the growth that we can keep up with. That being said, I know that that's an overarching problem. When I get down a little bit more and say that Coda's challenge with community is that we have a moderation interface on our platform, Discourse. However, that moderation interface usually contains things that are flagged, meaning that's where somebody says, hey, look at me, I need some help. Things that are new that the system kind of confuses as, hey, you might want to look at this, right? And so those are like the two paths that a lot of the moderation backend on Discourse handles the best. For Coda, that's not fitting to how we interpret a community should be ran. And that's where our challenge is with this solution that we had built out. Coda's community is vibrant, right? We have developers, we have makers of all advances and all types of knowledge. And then we have our doctorate alumni and our doctorate, cohorts on here. And then we have Codans, and then we have like founders of companies, like it just goes on and on and on, right? But how do we give and deliver the same experience to all of these groups? And this is the challenge that we have on our community here at Coda. So some of the tooling that we initially evaluated to try to address this was just saying, all right, let's just go and see what the de facto tools are offering, right? Let's just take a bike ride down this. And it's just, it was very, very uneventful, right? We just felt like, hey, this was very tedious. Our team like totally missed out on this opportunity to reply back to this amazing solution. We're not seeing types of engagement in this area, although we value it. Like it just felt very like flat from our experiencing using our current backend. So enter in Coda, right? Let's just drink our own champagne here and see what we can build to address these.
Mm-hmm. One thing that I just want to highlight about, there's two things about what you just said that are really resonating with me. Number one, I know that you've been in the community game for a long time. So from like the most nascent, we've just discovered fire, what's next, all the way to now, and sort of seeing the systemic problems that continue across this industry, and then noticing the new problems that crop up when you have a community like Coda's that is multifaceted, right? That there's not just, we're all writing in JavaScript and here's where we go to talk about JavaScript, or we're all administrators of this program and this is where we go to talk about this program, or Microsoft Word, it's just a text surface. So of course the problem landscape or the size of the sandbox in which to play in many communities is much smaller. But in Coda, because Coda could be a gift tracker for my family, a trip planner, of complete engineering backend, a CRM, an OKR tracker. It could be anything to anyone, that it almost seems like the sandbox that we need to support is like the size of a desert. It's huge. And so that's something that's really resonating with me. But yeah, let's take a look at your doc. How did Coda solve this problem? And one of my favorite things about this doc, spoiler alert, everyone, Steph and her team built it in just a couple hours, which is super exciting. So let's take a look.
Yeah, and just to preface this a little bit more, we tried to look at it from a holistic approach, right? Which is exactly what you said. We surveyed the current landscape that we know exists in community, and we took it like Play-Doh and we said, how does it look and feel for Coda? So this is our doc, right? As you're coming in, this experience of our community triage queue exists from, again, a very holistic, a very high level. It is meant to have support, product, development, all within Coda, be able to join in and understand how to help the community. So that being said, I'd like to just really at a very high functional level explain that the top end of this doc is just meant to primer anybody who comes in and wants to start reviewing, because we want to encourage people to take this action. We outline expectations on what these definitions mean as you are moderating. So again, this is something that we're approaching from a high level, saying anybody who understands community is a participant, but what if you said tomorrow, Marita, you are my newest moderator, here you go. The idea here is that how can I help my newest moderator, Maria, turn her time into action? That being said, we do have the feedback area. So our team is allowed to send any type of feedback directly to us. So as they're using this, they can just go straight in and say, Steph, this doesn't work for me. And then
Steph, we actually have a question that I would love to know.
We do.
from you.
I'm sorry. I was like going all excited.
That's all good. That's why I'm here. I'm the moderator for today. Haha. Carolina wants to know, do we have a template for this amazing doc yet?
We do not have a template just yet. Carolina, I just want to say thank you for this question. We don't have a template for this yet, as we've only been running this for a month and a half. Mm-hmm. So I just got this thing out of beta, and I will definitely go over what our beta run looks like in this webinar. So you have an idea of how quickly those few hours went from scoping to framing to creation all the way to beta. So answer your question, I don't have it to share, but I'm happy to show you what we've got so far.
And Carolina, I'm sure you can expect one once we, because again, like Steph was saying, we're testing this out right now, seeing how we like it. We're going to be going through more iterations, and then we'll probably settle on something like, this feels like that really good viable product. And then I'm sure we'll be doing some publishing there. Excellent. Also, I love this, Carolina. We have this idea of, is there private access with a password to make the community more private? So the interesting thing about this doc is that this doc actually powers the front end of our community, which is on Discourse. So this is our community right here. And what Steph's talking about is that the admin side of Discourse didn't give us enough to really support people and nurture them beyond the I'm a squeaky wheel, I have a problem, or this is new, which means we're losing this whole middle section of all this great stuff. So this didn't serve us. So Steph and her team built this doc to help them triage and respond to the community. But around this idea of passwords and access, with Coda, you decide who can come in and who can't, right? I'm going to invite people in, give them read or write only access, and then we're ready to rock and roll. So you could have a Coda doc that you invite people into and give them access to a community, which could be a whole bunch of tables where people can upvote things. Like that's always the thing as well with commenting. And I believe there's some things out there. Steph, Leandra wants to know, is there a Discourse pack coming? And maybe this is leading in to your next conversation.
Leandra, great question. The Discourse pack is on production. I asked our team to quietly release it to production simply because I felt there was just so much value to gain from this. If I'm totally honest, I didn't really market it. I was trying to keep this as a secret from myself until I got a really awesome like beta version to get templated out. So yes, it is already here. There's another question, Samantha.
Yeah, can Codadocs share access with groups, especially Google groups? You know, Samantha, I know that there is a connection that we have here, but I can't speak to it fully. So I don't want to give you an answer that might be incorrect. Steph, do you know a more holistic answer to this question? Otherwise, Samantha, I will get back to you after the fact.
I do not No, but I do feel that we can find out.
Yes. So I will check that out for you, Samantha. And yes, the idea of community platform integrations, no other ones right now, but here's the cool thing about Coda. We have something called the Pack Studio, which means anyone can build integrations using that. So I would not be surprised if we start to see a proliferation of even more out there. But right now, just that Discourse pack. Yeah. Cool, Steph. So walk us through what we're seeing here. We've got, I love that you have the clear instructions so that anyone can pick up this doc on your team or new to your team and be able to start rocking and rolling. But now what do we see here?
Truly, the topic queue is our primary queue. So think of a ticketing system, right? How you use Zendesk, Help Scout, Intercom. We thought, hey, that model works, but what about if we try to build it and have a very clear way to display it based on our topics that come through? This topic queue are all topics that come in from the Coda community that need review. Okay, so I'm gonna dive right into this. Here is a topic. All the information that you're seeing is pulled in using the Discourse pack. All of this is pre-populated from Discourse, so this is not something that, you know, doesn't get refreshed. This is absolutely direct from our community. We made a prompt to open the topic directly on the community, so you can actually see what the latest is. And just say, hey, look, there's actually responses that have already come through. And this could be an addressment of, Maria, from a holistic look, communities are like alive and breathing. So by the time I have this ticket piece of content in here, what has changed on the community? So we gave that option to the person reviewing to be able to go back in and just contextualize, hey, this community topic has moved along since I saw it being created. And so this was a challenge with a lot of community leaders, is that by the time we get into somewhere, we don't have the latest context. So we offer that option here, along with the view count, the like count, who is it assigned to, a little bit of what actions to take, and I'll explain this a little bit further, but to prime a little bit more, each and every one of these items is what we consider a ticket, right? And as a moderator, I'm going to go in and just claim.
And to clarify too, Steph, I just want to make sure I'm clarifying. All of that information is populated just because with the Discourse pack, you have the URL of the new post, and then all of that other information just comes in automatically. So if I were to add a new post here, all of the things around the author, the category, the view count, the like count, the details, that's all populated automatically without anything else. Is that right? Am I getting that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome.
And so we're basically saying, if Discourse in our community is a fire hose and this is all the water that's coming out, we are taking that water and putting it into buckets, cups, bowls, whatever it takes for it to be organized and consumable for a team. And so I know that's like not the best analogy, but I just feel like that's what communities are, right? It's just like this overflow of information. And by building this doc, we were able to say, hey, like, what information matters to us, to our team? And to Maria's point, we are pulling this information directly from our community. So a lot of these bits of information are accessible within the Discourse API, and which is also built into our pack. Yes, exactly, Landra. Waterfall that ends up in a completely different pool. For me, I prefer lakes, but for the sake of this conversation, that is exactly how this looks too. As I mentioned earlier, I claimed a topic, and if everybody saw for like a quick second, it now becomes assigned to me. I want to reiterate that this doesn't mean that this change occurs in the community. Okay. I know a lot of times when we are doing moderation work, we're doing work in Coda, we're concerned about it. Maybe, hey, like, what does it look like back onto the community? This is purely, once it comes into here, this is how we adjust and we reframe it for our own needs. So once I claim this, it does not reflect on the community as assigned or claimed. So I want to reiterate that portion. Maria, did you have like a quick?
I was just saying, so that just then clarifies like, oh, cool. I now know on our team, we don't have to be going back and forth being like, hey, did you see that post? Like, has anybody done anything? This really just allows everybody on your team to very quickly go, all right, I'm the gardener for this one. I'm the gardener for this one. I've got these little elements so that now we're able to make more sense of our work. I love that. And I just think it's so powerful that literally all you did here after creating the pack was, okay, great, let's pull in the discourse information. And then you chose what the columns are. And then it just automatically populates with all that stuff. And you just decided how you wanted to see it. And I just think that's so amazing and beneficial. All right.
Correct. So Maria, you are my moderator assistant. I've already claimed the topics that I want. Okay. So when you are on your shift, you can see now from a high level, here's something that's not claimed. But now the question poses on, I've claimed my topics. What does that look like from a workflow perspective? We made a view that has my topics. This is your work box. This is your area that you work in. This will obviously be tailored to the topics that you have claimed. And of course, you can definitely unclaim too, but let's just for the sake here that we're all in this together and we want to moderate. How this works is that once you claim a topic, I'm going to pick one that looks like it has a little more content. Here we go. I really want something like sufficient, right? Like some beefy stuff. That being said, I love the fact that I'm able to work in my own inbox. This really aligns with my focus, saying like, hey, I'm not taking more topics than I can actually work on. One of the challenges that makes it very difficult to operate a community team is that we're just like bumping into each other, right? We're like stepping on each other. Hey, Maria, did you answer this? Steph, like I already answered this. Where? And that ends up being the concern and the challenge here. So that being said, here's my assigned topic. As I go through and I'm reading all of this, I can actually see the action taken here. So if I saw that Maria was already addressing this, or she had already previously addressed this, I can be rest assured that I can just refer back to her notes before I take any action. Yes, actually, Carolyn, I will definitely go into the reviewer leaderboard right after this. So for the sake of here, I am going to say, hey, I reviewed this, but I'm not taking any action. I really would love to leave this conversation alone and let it take place further on the community. So if I mark this, we have put a condition in here that says, hey, if you reviewed this and I'm not taking action, what is your reasoning? We want to give context to the team. So I'm just going to put that in.
And I love this, that it's like, sometimes you're like, oh, this conversation is actually super healthy. I don't need to come in here. So you could then put that note here around where it's at, or, oh, you know what? I don't feel like I'm the right person. We should get someone else to come in here. And I love that. That's all just tracked here. That's amazing.
Correct. And let's just say, for the sake of this, I'm done. You can see here, here's my action. Here's the access level that is permitted for that, the person who took action, and my notes. That being said, great, you took action. This is awesome. Let's actually see what happens when you want to go back and review something that you just did. I'm like, Maria, I need a second opinion on what I did. You can actually go back and see the topics you've already completed. This is something that our current tool set does not solve for, is to actually give you a log of the work you've already done. So that maybe you can go back and say, hey, like this is actually something the team decided otherwise. And I can actually go in and change the action taken. And then go back to the topic itself on the community to update the person asking the question, or give an update to the topic, or maybe even close out the topic. So we can actually close these loops that otherwise remain open on the community by using this now other view of showing completed topics that are done by me.
Yeah, I also love that this shows like a sense of progress too, right? Because sometimes when we're in a role like this, it can feel transactional, right? Like I'm just going through things, but it's like, oh no, look at all of the things that I've done. Look at all of the people I've supported. And in addition to my own feelings of like, yes, I did that, I feel good about it. Also being able to then go, things have now changed. Let's revisit this. And I love that there's that built-in flexibility. Amazing. Yeah, keep going, Steph. Rock and roll.
But heading into Carolina's question, we want to track progress. So we made a dashboard so you can see this week's progression by which team members, by even date, right? I like to look at this week, but let's just say we want to go back last week. Or let's just say we want to go back the last 30 days. You can see by member of the team how we performed. So again, trying to solve a holistic approach here from community. Maria, you come in, you're my moderator. We got to go into our boss and actually tell them how we performed. How do we do that? How do we show progress and metrics when we're taking action in the community? This is how. So within this Codadoc, we built a review leaderboard broken down by activity and action. Of course, we also break it down by effort. So if there's something like maybe an audit, like a community quality week that we perform, we can have that reporting broken down as well. So this is very catered to reporting teams, performance teams, anything that you really just want to track.
And Steph, correct me if I'm wrong, this chart is just a view of that full topic table, right? So everybody, here's the cool thing about what Steph and her team did. They have one giant table data set, which is all the stuff coming in from Discourse, populated by the Discourse pack. In the previous topic queue, we saw it in that like detail view, right? So yes, exactly. We see it in this detail view, and we see it filtered to whatever has not been claimed here. Then under my topics, we see that same information, but it's just filtered by the things that I have done. Then under dashboard, we see that same information, but now it's filtered by the date picker that Steph has along the top, and we're deciding to show it in a chart view. So with that same data set, Steph is able to transform it and see it in a bunch of different ways, depending on the question that she needs to answer with her team. So I just want to highlight, that's my favorite thing about this doc, is that we're using that same data in a bunch of different ways to answer all the questions that we have. All right, take it away, Steph.
As Brett and Carolina, here is our reviewer leaderboard. I know that this is sometimes a fact of motivation, right? Like you just want to show like how well your team is doing. So we made a leaderboard where we say, hey, who is actually performing the most frequent of all time, right? But we also have in the past month. And I thought that this was really unique too, is that once we go in here, we're seeing like, hey, Maria is my top star. Let's see her last performance in the last 30 days and recognize her performance and her contributions. And of course, we also broke it down by the audits that we do on the community, right? So once in a while, we just go in and we like clean sweep everything, get everything back into like good condition. Here is by even an instance of this is our 3-day sprint. And I definitely wanted to preface this is that we actually use Quality Week as our beta testing. So Remember in the beginning of this webinar, we were talking about, hey, we're just getting this out of beta. So I actually live time drove this doc in front of the entire team to use it for 2.5 days to power and work through moderation on the community. And that was my stress test here. So I wanted to clarify, that's what you're seeing here. And this is what the reporting shows.
Amazing. And how are you calculating this, Steph? I'm just curious.
That is a really good question. So obviously the breakdown is by Coda, but the total topics process means that while we're going through, these are how many touches you've done, right? Like how many topics you've gone through, like did you claim, unclaim? Total actions is when, remember when I hit all done, that is the total actions that's calculated here.
Nice.
And these columns are aligned with all of the actions that were marked.
Right, from the drop down.
That is correct.
Got it.
So
cool.
This shows our team marked, myself, I marked 15 solutions that I found identified in the community, and I marked it as so in the topic queue.
Very cool. Can you open up the formula? I'm just curious. I just want to look at it.
Absolutely.
All right, so this is actually a very straightforward formula, everybody. So what we see is we are taking a look at all of the actions in that table with all of the discourse information in it. Then we're filtering it where the action or the thing that was taken from that drop-down menu was solution marked, and then we're counting it. So we're just saying, hey, show me that table. Again, the big giant table that's powering everything. We're filtering it to just the part that we're interested in. And then we are marking, then we're just counting it. So again, Steph is using that same giant data set to answer a bunch of different questions just by doing some transformations. Beautiful. Thanks, Steph.
Sure. And so just really quickly, I know we were talking about initiatives that Coda, we wanted to Play-Doh it for ourselves. So some of the efforts that we felt were very important to us, to our community, is to filter by other views, topics that were answered within 48 hours. I think that this is something that is super important with many communities, but Coda, we want to prioritize that. By doing so, we were able to filter this particular view by the creation date of this topic. And if they did not get a response that wasn't from them, right? It's just not them talking to themselves. Within 48 hours, their topic ends up in this view. So we know where to prioritize. Ultimately, the problem we're trying to solve here is, Maria, you have 15 minutes. Can you go ahead and check all the topics that weren't answered within the last 48 hours in the community? This is what this view looks like, and this is what we're trying to solve on this one.
I love it. And what I love, again, I feel like a broken record, but I think it's so important, is notice all of these subpages of the other topic views. It's just Steph and her team filtering that same data for the thing they're interested in. In this case, we're like, wow, wouldn't it be great if we knew the number of topics that hadn't been answered in the last 48 hours? Okay, let's filter that table by the created date in relation to 48 hours. And now we're able to see it. Same thing for completed topics, right? Like show me everything that is currently marked as complete, right? Yeah, I love this. Carolina saying, I have a giant Google sheet. I'd love to translate to this simple view to share it with the rest of the team, but I'm worried about the time to put into this pro level. Carolina, not to worry. So here is my recommendation to you. If you already have a giant Google sheet, copy that whole, all of this, there's actually even an importer. You can use our Google Sheets importer, or you can just copy paste your full data set in. Then what you can do is you can create some initial filters. So Steph and her team, this is a fully built out doc, but you could start with just having big giant table, which is your base table of all the stuff from your Google Sheet, and then making a couple filtered views, filter to the things that are unanswered, filter to the things that are currently flagged as a bug. Just start there. Also, how Samantha is interested, Steph, in how did you build the cards into this to achieve this view that we're looking at? Could you just walk us through that really quickly?
Absolutely. So Samantha, within Coda, we offer an option for you to have the view from a table to detailed cards. This is actually like a component of why Coda is so powerful, is that you can instantly switch in between what you need. So to achieve this view is literally a simple click. And that's what makes this like so amazing and powerful, is that let's just say tomorrow I don't feel this view is helpful to me anymore. I could potentially create a new view, switch it over to the card view, and have it look like the topic's unanswered area, and have it look like another filtered view. And so what you're seeing here, Samantha, is actually just a table that is in a card view.
Yeah. And if you want to, you see how Steph has organized everything, like we have 4 across. Steph, could you just click the little shish kebab for me? If you want to change how this looks as well, you do the click just to get into this. But if you want to even edit the layout, you can just choose edit layout, and it's going to open it up. And now Steph can move all of these little blocks around depending on what she wants. And you can always change your mind. So click over to detail, that gives you this automatically, and then press the shish kebab to make this page look exactly the way that you want it. And that's entirely up to you. Great questions, y'all. Excellent. Thanks, Steph. What's next? What else is in his amazing doc?
There's just so much. And for time constraints, I just want to be very clear, like just doing the high level review. Some other things that we also did was create a suggestion box area, making sure that we collect all of our feedback about Coda and how it's upvoted on the community. So something here that's unique is that we show the like count and the view count of our feedback that we aggregate from the community. And so when we have conversations with our product specialists, we say, look, here's a potentially very high value piece of content. You might want to take a look at it, and you can search this particular view for maybe a keyword that you really want to surface. And this has empowered our product specialists to be able to come in with proof on whether or not something is wanted, especially from our community.
And I love this makes it, instead of just like the one squeaky wheel, the one loud person, you actually can see the volume because of how you've put this together here. Yeah, go for it.
Carolina asked, will there be an integration to see avatars connected to LinkedIn profiles? That is a really good question, Carolina. I don't believe I am like qualified to answer that, because I don't know what it would take to make that type of integration. But yeah, I feel like that's a question we could definitely ask our team.
Yeah. Carolina, the thing I can offer is the avatars that you see in here, like when Steph pressed assign to claim the ticket and get assigned, that is pulled from the account that you use to log into Coda. So that is connected to your email and your, again, like your login to Coda, which for most folks is Google Suite. So that is currently populated based on how you authenticate. In other words, hey, this is me, and I'm proving that it's me coming into Coda. So what would be required to have it be connected to a LinkedIn profile is for us to build a login process so that you could use LinkedIn to be your, essentially your single sign-on from Coda. I don't believe that's on our roadmap right now, but what Steph and I can do is share this feedback with our team. Maybe you even want to post to the community in the suggestion box, and it'll actually show up here for Steph and her team to look at and for other people to upvote. But I love this idea, and I'll be happy to pass on that feedback for you. Great. Go ahead, Steph.
And in this view, bugs. I know none of us want to hear that there's a hiccup anywhere, and especially when we're using Coda. This bug triage allows us to have a very high level view of, hey, was there a bug already reported on the community? If so, are we closing out the loop and making sure that we're addressing these bug reports by urgency, or in at least the order that they're coming in? And so this is what we built. And we're able to see that by using the bug triage inbox, we were able to get one of our colleagues, Zach, in within 24 hours. So to be very clear here, Emma wrote in 1 day ago. So let's just say it's 24 hours. Because of the bug triage that we have, Zach was able to answer within 23 hours. So that means within 1 hour, the Coda team was able to say, hey, we hear what you're saying. Can you do this? Or, hey, we need more information. And that's the power of this bug triage, for us to not just be reactive, but responsive. And that was something that our team felt was a huge challenge. It's like, how do we know if there's a bug in the community that has an urgency?
And again, this is all happening because with the Discourse pack, we automatically pull in everything. If it's in our bugs category, it gets automatically filtered here because we know it's been classified as a bug, and this view is filtered to only show bugs, so that everyone immediately sees this in one spot. So if I'm doing my moderator duties for the day, I can very easily focus on the things that I've claimed that I'm working on. And also, like Steph said, oh, I got 15 minutes. I'm going to just see what bugs are there so I can respond to folks. Excellent.
Correct. And see, I saw Zach responded, and now I can use that information to communicate to anybody who comes before or after me in their shifts, and to say, hey, this is already done. We're good. And I could just say Zach, right? Zach was the person who answered, and done. That's it. That's literally the process in which we're handling bugs, because we realize there's no effective way to track and document all the different things that are happening, especially when there's like communication and then internal communication, and then making sure that the team understands what's happening next or what's not happening next. And so the bug triage here was meant to serve and to show that now we can be completely responsive. Any questions? I get excited. I'm like, is there questions?
I love it. I love it. What's the Moderator Hub? Yeah, walk us through here.
The Moderator Hub is our secret sauce. Right? This is where the magic happens. This is where we, as moderators, control the experience within the moderation queue. So this is like moderators for moderators, if you will. It's like totally Inception level things, right? What you're seeing in here is that here's our control center. As a moderator, there's sometimes you just won't know the answer, right? Like I even tell Maria, I'm like, I don't know. But we should record those types of things, right? Topics for review, whenever there is, sorry, I don't have anything in here, but whenever something is marked as saying, I need a second opinion, I mark something as saying tagged for review, request review. It shows up in this filtered view, and our team gets back to it in a different priority. And we're like, hey, Maria's blocked. Let's make sure that she's not blocked. And so we can see from a high level how many people are holding for a question, or hey, we're not really like doing the best job we can on some of these, and we're going to fall behind if we don't. So we flag those for our team to review. And that's what you're seeing here, which is now we're using our set of data and telling a topic within our team to say, hey, please put this separate so I can get back to it ASAP. Does that make sense? It's kind of like our own alert system.
Yeah. And again, this is also powered off of the main table, right? One giant table. And then we're just saying, okay, for us, if it's marked as I'm not sure, and it's been this amount of time, I want to show it in our topics for review. I love it. So that's the big thing, everybody, that I just want to share. The hardest part about this doc is figuring out what processes do you have on your team. It's figuring out the process that you already have and outlining, okay, what is our if then? If this, then what? Figuring out what that is for you is the hard part. Then all you need to do is load your data in either through the Discourse pack, or maybe if you've got it in a Google Sheet, right? Load it in and then just start to filter it. But the thing I think is so elegant about this is that it's really about, okay, how do I translate the ideal scenario into a view that's going to let me know when to take action.
Absolutely. And you're spot on. And this is a perfect segue into unaction topics. All right. Scenario here is that Maria's on vacation. She is in Argentina without me. Okay. Let's just put it like that. And I am duly jealous, but at the same time, I don't know what she's claimed or worked on. Right. That tends to be the case with a lot of support and even community teams, is that we realize that we have the best intentions, but hey, things happen, life happens, vacations happen, Argentina happens. In all circumstances, we have this hub here for unaction topics. This means that I can see from a high level that, I'm gonna say this is Maria, claim this topic. And the claim time, we actually have a counter here. So Maria claimed this topic 27 minutes ago, but it could obviously be days ago. It doesn't matter. But we actually can see, hey, maybe Steph, you should, hold on to this topic and release it. So it actually goes back in to the main queue. So now we're not holding up our responses. Now we're saying to the team, hey, I couldn't get to this. I need help. Let me release it back because I took no action on it. Yeah. So the unaction topics area is kind of a way to say, hey, what are you holding on to? How can I help? And how do we know how to help, right? Mm-hmm. So this was, again, a Coda specific challenge. But again, the holistic approach is that what happens when you hold on to a topic and it doesn't get answered? How do we address that?
And again, that button, even though it looks super fancy, all that button was doing was modifying the row to change the status to be unclaimed. So all these buttons are doing is changing values in that row so that it automatically then gets filtered to where it now needs to go, because it's all, again, part of the same giant table. So that's what I love about the use of buttons here, is that it makes it feel really delightful and polished and slick, but all it's doing is just changing. So you could do a drop-down menu and choose the drop-down, but why do that when you can have a button, right?
Agreed. And we just wanted to be very quick for the team, right? On a high level, scan through, press a button, keep going. And beautiful. I'm nearing towards the end of this moderator hub, but this, I believe, is amazing. It is one of my favorite parts. This is our all triage queue activity. So now we're thinking, all right, we've done this work. It's amazing. It's, all heads over tails. It's going to be fantastic. But how are we tracking it? Right? Where can I see on a very high level the topics that Maria just wrote and left in here and said completed? How can I go back and just say, hey, there's a whole bunch of topics here that just all of a sudden got cleared out? Perfect. Where do I see that? We built this community review efforts table. Sorry, this is just our way of showing, hey, in this quarter, here's what it looks like with start and end dates, the name of the effort, and we've tied that effort into assigning. So every week when I start moderation, I select the exact week with the start date. And now every single topic that is done or taken action to gets labeled with that effort, regardless of who does it. So that helps the team say, we are moving in a singular fashion together. And this, again, tries to adjust the fact that, do you really want to go through and remember one more tag? Do you really want to go through and forget when you did something and to which effort? This was, again, a holistic problem, but it's now Coda specific. So as I'm going through the all activities here, you can see in April, the 4th week, that was when I ended that work effort. And when I came in on that Monday, I changed to the next work effort. And to reiterate, I'm going to actually, instead of scrolling, go to say, I want to look at, I don't know, April 2nd this week, or is it the first, 3rd week? I'm just trying, here we go. When we look at the 3rd week of April, I can see all the different people who took action on all the topics across this moderation effort. And keep in mind, team, they set the effort themselves while I was out. So again, this is enabling the team to be very forward thinking, regardless if I'm here or not. They know the marching orders. And now all of these people didn't forget to tag the effort. All these people have recorded all of these activities in this particular effort. So when I get back in, I can say, hey, Maria, we're good from last week. I can see from what I learned, and I can answer instantaneously. And that's all simply because we created this table to mark and auto mark based on the effort we select every single week.
Yeah, very cool. And again, this is just populated with the same information. And now we have all this data. So Steph and her team could be like, what are the changing loads that we're seeing? What are the trends that we're seeing? How are we doing? Because by having all of this data in one spot, now she can transform it in any way that she needs to, so that if someone asks, hey, how many solutions did we mark in the last blah, 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 we can actually very clearly see it just by doing a couple transformations, which I absolutely love. And again, all of this is possible because we're slurping in all of that data from Discourse automagically through the power of a pack. Beautiful. Awesome. Steph, would you be so kind to show where people could add the Discourse pack if they too want to start having that as their kind of foundational data?
Me on the spot here. Dang.
Sorry.
Oh, you're
Packs. There we go. Yep. So if you just search packs, and then you could search Discourse from that little bar up there, you could go ahead and add and authenticate appropriately. Yeah. Beautiful.
It's like getting nervous. I was like, but this pack in itself, you could see all of the elements that were displayed in the stock. So mark an accepted answer, retrieve post information. That's where we were seeing all the likes and the views. And then I don't remember if I didn't remember to point this out, but the sync category information. So we have a category on the community called Ask the Community. Where's that information? Right here in this pack. And then obviously formulas, we have this so that you can actually retrieve information about a specific topic, and even more so, how to target that information.
And I love that we have the post table. So you just pull in, like, I want to sync in every post, which is the beginning of Steph's whole experience, right? Syncing in all of the posts and then making those adjustments. Very cool.
So this sync table right here, we did configure it to make sure that it updates hourly. And then also we have, there's a limitation that we set because we realize that not all communities are new. And while we love new communities, communities that have more than 2 years worth of information, it's important to like really decide what types of information you really want to focus in on, because an unlimited table is not always the greatest to fold that in.
Yes. Oh, I love this. Thank you so much, Bill. Steph, Bill is saying, I've always felt that Coda could be the foundation of data science for people who are not data scientists. This session is yet another indicator for me that the horizon is broad and the platform is capable. Great stuff. I'm so glad that that's how you're feeling about it, Bill. Because again, like Steph and her team, in just a matter of a couple hours, built the pack and then put this doc together. So the idea is that once you have all of your data, y'all, once you have it all in one spot, the ability to transform it is endless, right? So once you've got your stuff, then you can just decide what you want to do with it. Bill, I'm so glad. And I agree. That's why as soon as Steph demoed this doc in our company weekly demos, I was slacking her immediately, like, Steph, you want to do a webinar with me about this doc? Because I think it's so great. But again, we could use this same general concept that Steph has put together here for anything. right? I could use the Shopify pack to pull in all of the purchases, all of the purchases that have happened on my website and transform it in a bunch of different ways. And then have a reminder to follow up with people who bought a certain thing in a certain month. I could use have a form that people are filling out of being interested in something that then populates a table. I can transform it in any number of ways. So it's all about, you've got your data. Now, what are the questions you have about it, and creating filters and views to be able to do that, because everything stays connected. Steph, I'd love to know, as we're coming into our final moments here together, what advice do you have to other people who are thinking about maybe doing something similar, wanting to take a look at their community or build a doc here?
Excellent question. I think that anybody pondering on building their own, I love to call it kind of like the work empowerment doc. And why I
Ooh,
call it that is that it empowers you to work. So I know a lot of times we talk about challenges, we're trying to solve problems, but what empowers you to want to do this work, right? A challenge is a challenge, but I thought about how I can really motivate my team to want to moderate. And I thought that that was the key here, was that this empowerment makes it so that we don't feel necessarily that it's work, but that we are proud and happy and excited to jump into our doc and conduct this work effortlessly, quickly, and efficiently. So that's how I would take that approach. And I know that a lot of times people don't maybe pause for that, but I feel like that was at its core what you're seeing here in this doc.
yeah. And then if you could go back and do it all over again, is there anything you'd do differently or maybe adjust?
That's a really good question. I think that if I had any kind of like magical time machine and went
Yes.
back to like really think through some efforts that I really would have loved to like think out a little bit more, um, I definitely felt that I would have loved to see a better way to prioritize maybe like the bug area, like be able
Hmm.
to say, hey, like Maria, this is like a higher priority
Mm-hmm.
for me. Can I separate these views a little bit more? How can I get that
Yeah.
information from Discourse so that I'm not just trying to like manually
Mm-hmm.
determine that? Um, and then really like think about how I can calculate that urgency, that priority based
Yeah.
on information from Discourse. I
Amazing.
felt like I didn't I didn't land that in this iteration. And maybe if I had a little bit more time to like look into the information that Discourse does provide, I could answer my own question, because
Mm-hmm.
maybe that information is not even tracked,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
But the idea here is that could I have found information, and even to Bill's point, work some data science into it, make a determination on that information, and then calculate on how to better label and how to better surface the team that this piece of information is more urgent or seemingly more impactful to look at versus this one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And again, notice here what Steph is talking about is, again, figuring out her team's process. Like, what is our team? What are the decisions my team needs to make? And how can I reflect that here using the data that's available to me so that it doesn't have to be something that people go through manually every time? And here's the thing that I love about Codadocs: they're editable. So Steph she's not stuck like, oh no, I made my doc and now that's it. She's not stuck. She can decide to add another column here once she takes a look to see if Discourse has certain prioritization available in their API. Or she can decide, you know what, let's actually add just another column where people can give a gut check of how intense this is. You can always make additions, omissions, and adjustments. That's always your prerogative. That's one of the things that I love the most, is that you're not stuck once you've implemented something. It's not like, well, we implemented that software and now it'll be 5 years before we can do another one. You always can make those changes, and you can do them regularly. Oh my goodness, Steph, thank you so much for sharing your brilliance, this doc, inspiring us, and also like giving us a little bit of an engine room look about what's happening on the back end when we engage with the community at community.coda.io. It's been a true pleasure. And thank you everyone for hanging out with us. I hope you found a few things you can start to play with, and don't hesitate to get in touch if you have more questions, either on the community or with us directly. We're happy to support you. All right, Steph, any wise words before we sign off for today?
No, I don't have any wise words, but I best see everybody in the community, and I will be looking for everybody's topics or posts within our triage queue.
Amazing. All right, y'all. Take care. We'll see you around. Bye.